They thought air dominance was a matter of money, machinery, and sheer size. Yet here is a nation rewriting the rules, proving that precision, adaptability, and strategy can bring giants to their knees. Pakistan's mastery of asymmetric air strategy has become one of the most closely studied and quietly unsettling developments in modern aerial warfare because it represents a complete departure from the predictable patterns that dominate Western military thinking. Instead of trying to match adversaries plane for plane or engage in an arms race over who can produce the fastest, most technologically advanced aircraft, Pakistan has focused on designing an air doctrine that thrives on efficiency, adaptability, and strategic deception. Asymmetric air strategy, at its core, is about finding unconventional ways to offset the disadvantages of a smaller budget or smaller fleet size. And Pakistan has elevated this concept into an art form. By leveraging its understanding of regional geography, adversary psychology, and the limitations of high-cost Western air doctrines, it has created a playbook where every move is designed to force the opponent into a reactive position. This is a battlefield philosophy that says it's better to dictate the pace of engagement and control the narrative rather than try to overpower the enemy with sheer numbers or raw speed. The success of this approach comes from meticulous planning, realistic wargaming, and the deliberate blending of old and new technology in ways that keep adversaries constantly guessing. A cutting-edge asymmetric tactic might involve using a relatively low-cost fighter as bait to lure more advanced jets into a trap covered by long-range air defense systems, or to draw them into electronic jamming zones where their targeting systems are degraded. It could mean dispatching small, fast strike packages that operate under strict radio silence, relying instead on pre-programmed maneuvers and satellite coordination, making it nearly impossible for adversaries to track them in real time. It can also include feints, false movements meant to draw enemy fighters away from high-value assets, executed with such precision that even seasoned pilots misread the intent. The genius of this strategy lies in how it weaponizes unpredictability. A nation that cannot be easily read cannot be easily countered. This unpredictability is amplified by Pakistan's willingness to adapt its tactics mid-engagement based on real-time intelligence, often exploiting the overconfidence of adversaries accustomed to fighting in predictable theaters. It doesn't just focus on combat effectiveness in ideal conditions. It trains to win when everything is stacked against it, when weather is poor, when visibility is low, when radar coverage is patchy. Western defense planners are acutely aware that in such scenarios, even their most advanced systems can become vulnerable to an opponent that is prepared to fight dirty, move fast, and strike without warning. This asymmetric mindset also disrupts the traditional cost-benefit analysis of war. Expensive aircraft become liabilities if they can be neutralized by cheaper, more mobile systems. It undermines the belief that dominance in technology automatically equals dominance in the skies. By demonstrating that agility, deception, and tactical patience can yield the same, if not greater, strategic benefits than billion-dollar fighter programs, Pakistan has presented the West with an uncomfortable truth. Air superiority is no longer solely about who has the most powerful jet, but about who has the smartest plan to use what they already have. Pakistan's integration of indigenous and foreign technology into its air force has created a hybrid combat capability that is far more complex and unpredictable than the linear, uniform structures favored by most Western militaries. Instead of relying solely on imported, ready-made solutions, Pakistan has pursued a dual-track strategy, developing homegrown platforms while selectively acquiring high-performance systems from different partners around the world. This approach has produced an air arsenal that is not only diverse in origin, but also uniquely tailored to the country's strategic needs and operational realities. The most prominent example is the JF-17 Thunder, co-developed with China, which represents a cost-effective yet highly capable multi-role fighter that can be continually upgraded without the heavy political and budgetary strings attached to Western aircraft. This fighter has been adapted to carry a range of weapons from multiple suppliers, meaning it can operate outside the limitations of a single weapons ecosystem. The integration of different technologies from multiple sources, China, Turkey, the West, and even domestic research institutions, gives Pakistan a degree of operational flexibility that is highly disruptive to adversaries accustomed to predictable force structures. A purely Western-equipped air force, for instance, tends to have standardized maintenance protocols, communication systems, and weapons integration patterns. By contrast, Pakistan's hybrid fleet breaks that mold, presenting a logistical puzzle for any opponent trying to predict how it will fight. A sortie might combine Chinese-built fighters carrying precision-guided munitions sourced from Turkey, while another mission could see older Western jets paired with indigenous electronic warfare pods. This fluidity in platform weapon pairing makes it far harder to anticipate Pakistan's strike capabilities and readiness levels. Beyond combat aircraft, this blending of technologies extends to Pakistan's radar networks, surveillance assets, and missile systems. Indigenous radar development has been complemented by Chinese long-range detection systems, while Turkish and European sensors have been integrated into certain platforms for specialized missions. The result is a layered and redundant detection capability that resists being blinded by a single form of electronic attack. In addition, Pakistan has developed indigenous data link systems that allow real-time communication between its mixed-origin aircraft, effectively knitting together its diverse fleet into a unified operational network. This interoperability, despite the different technical origins of the platforms, is a feat that many Western observers once considered improbable, yet Pakistan has achieved it through targeted investment in systems integration expertise. What makes this hybrid model particularly alarming for Western defense planners is its resilience. If a sanctions regime or diplomatic freeze cuts off one supply line, Pakistan can pivot to another without crippling its air force. It is not locked into the dependency cycles that plague many smaller nations reliant on a single defense partner. This independence not only ensures continuity of operations in crisis scenarios, but also forces adversaries to account for a constantly evolving threat profile. The introduction of new systems or upgrades from any one of Pakistan's multiple suppliers can fundamentally alter its capabilities in a matter of months rather than years. This unpredictability, both in terms of technology mix and the speed of adaptation, means that traditional intelligence assessments struggle to keep pace. For Western defense circles, which rely heavily on forecasting an opponent's force development years in advance, Pakistan's ability to defy these projections is a deeply unsettling reality. Pakistan's increasing reliance on drones and electronic warfare has reshaped its air tactics into a form that directly challenges traditional doctrines built around manned aircraft dominance. Rather than viewing drones as supplementary assets, Pakistan has integrated them into the very core of its operational planning, using them for surveillance, reconnaissance, target acquisition, and precision strikes. This has allowed the Air Force to extend its reach deep into contested or hostile zones without risking valuable pilot lives or expensive fighter jets. The variety of drones in Pakistan's inventory, ranging from small tactical UAVs to larger armed platforms capable of carrying guided munitions, gives it the flexibility to operate across a spectrum of missions. Whether it is monitoring troop movements along the border, tracking naval vessels, or pinpointing artillery positions, drones offer a persistent, low-cost and low-risk method of maintaining situational awareness. Electronic warfare capabilities further amplify this advantage by degrading or outright disabling an opponent's ability to detect, track, and engage. By deploying jamming equipment, radar-disrupting technologies, and cyber-based intrusion tools, Pakistan can create windows of opportunity in which enemy defenses are temporarily blinded or confused. In such moments, drones can penetrate deep into hostile airspace, either to gather intelligence or to conduct strikes with pinpoint accuracy. The synergy between drones and electronic warfare means that Pakistan can launch multi-layered attacks where electronic disruption precedes or accompanies UAV operations, making interception much harder. This combination also provides a way to exhaust and overwhelm an adversary's air defense systems, forcing them to waste resources on multiple false targets or scrambled signals. A critical element of this strategy lies in Pakistan's use of drones as decoys. UAVs can be deployed to mimic the radar signature of larger aircraft, drawing enemy fighters or surface-to-air missile systems away from the real threat. This tactic forces adversaries to make split-second decisions, often leading to mistakes that can be exploited by follow-up strikes from manned aircraft or other drones. By incorporating electronic countermeasures into these decoy drones, Pakistan ensures that even if the enemy engages, their targeting systems might be misled or neutralized before they can inflict damage. The intelligence-gathering aspect of Pakistan's drone program is equally vital. Persistent ISR, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, coverage allows for precise mapping of enemy radar coverage, troop movements, and weapon placements. This intelligence feeds directly into operational planning, ensuring that strikes, whether by drones or manned aircraft, are executed with maximum efficiency. When coupled with electronic eavesdropping, Pakistan gains not just visual intelligence, but also valuable data on enemy communications and command structures. This layered approach transforms the battlefield into an environment where Pakistan's forces are better informed and better positioned than their adversaries. What unsettles Western defense analysts most is how cost-effective and scalable this approach is. A single drone, paired with the right electronic warfare support, can achieve mission outcomes that previously required entire squadrons of aircraft and significant logistical support. Furthermore, Pakistan's partnerships with China and Turkey have accelerated its access to advanced drone designs and EW systems, while indigenous development ensures that these capabilities are tailored to its specific needs. The result is a self-reinforcing system where each technological upgrade in drones or EW equipment multiplies the effectiveness of the other. This evolution signals a shift away from traditional high-cost air dominance models toward a more agile, technology-driven strategy that can challenge even the most advanced militaries without matching them jet for jet. Pakistan's increasing reliance on drones and electronic warfare has fundamentally transformed the way it approaches air operations, creating a layered and adaptive capability that is drawing close attention from Western defense analysts. In the past, unmanned aerial systems were largely seen as supplementary to traditional fighter jets, but Pakistan has moved beyond that perception, embedding drones as an integral part of its operational doctrine. This integration allows for continuous surveillance, target tracking, and precision strike capabilities without exposing pilots or risking the loss of costly manned aircraft. The versatility of Pakistan's drone fleet, ranging from small, tactical UAVs to long-range armed drones capable of carrying advanced munitions, enables the Air Force to operate across multiple mission profiles, from counterinsurgency and border patrol to strategic reconnaissance and deep strike missions against high-value targets. The true force multiplier effect, however, comes from pairing these drones with advanced electronic warfare systems that can disrupt, deceive, and disable enemy detection and communication networks. By deploying jamming systems, radar spoofing technologies, and electronic intrusion tools, Pakistan can create temporary blind spots in an adversary's defensive grid. These windows of vulnerability are then exploited by drones to penetrate airspace, gather intelligence, or deliver precision strikes with minimal risk of interception. This synergy between electronic warfare and unmanned systems gives Pakistan an ability to neutralize threats without engaging in costly dogfights or exposing its most advanced manned fighters to enemy fire. A particularly effective tactic involves using drones as decoys to saturate enemy radar and defense systems. By mimicking the radar signatures of larger aircraft or by swarming in coordinated patterns, drones can force adversaries to engage prematurely, depleting their missile stocks and revealing the positions of their anti-aircraft systems. These decoy maneuvers can be further enhanced with electronic countermeasures embedded within the drones, which can distort targeting data or cause missile guidance systems to fail. Once the enemy's defenses are drawn out or compromised, Pakistan's main strike elements, whether manned or unmanned, can move in with far greater effectiveness. Drones also serve a vital role in intelligence gathering, which is the backbone of modern air warfare. Equipped with high-resolution cameras, infrared sensors, and signals intelligence packages, they can maintain persistent surveillance over areas of interest, mapping out the location and movement of enemy forces, tracking supply lines, and identifying weak points in defensive networks. This data is then fed into command centers in real time, allowing for rapid decision-making and precise operational planning. When paired with electronic intelligence capabilities, Pakistan not only gains visual awareness, but can also intercept and analyze enemy communications, creating a clearer picture of adversary intentions and readiness. The most unsettling aspect for Western defense observers is the cost-effectiveness and scalability of this strategy. While advanced fighter jets require enormous financial investment, extensive maintenance, and highly trained pilots, drones can be produced and deployed at a fraction of the cost while still delivering strategic effects. Partnerships with countries like China and Turkey have accelerated Pakistan's acquisition of cutting-edge drone designs and EW equipment, while domestic R&D efforts ensure that these assets are tailored to its specific geographic and operational needs. This combination of affordability, adaptability, and lethality means Pakistan can field a constantly evolving drone and electronic warfare capability that challenges even technologically superior air forces, forcing them to rethink traditional air superiority doctrines built around manned platforms and high-cost assets. The 2019 Balakot air skirmish became a defining moment in modern South Asian military history, and a case study for how Pakistan's air force could respond rapidly and decisively under intense pressure, combining strategic restraint with calculated precision. This incident began when India conducted an airstrike in Balakot, claiming it had destroyed terrorist training facilities inside Pakistani territory. The move was unprecedented in its boldness and escalated tensions to dangerous levels, with the potential to spiral into a larger conflict. The following day, Pakistan launched Operation Swift Retort, a carefully orchestrated counterstrike that demonstrated not just its capability, but also its tactical discipline. Rather than responding with overwhelming force that could trigger a full-scale war, Pakistan chose a measured retaliation designed to deliver a clear message. It could penetrate defended airspace and hit targets at will, but it would do so without escalating to civilian or large-scale military casualties. During the operation, Pakistan Air Force fighters, including JF-17 Thunders and F-16s, crossed into Indian-administered airspace in daylight, a deliberate choice to ensure visibility and make the point that this was not a covert or defensive maneuver, but a controlled offensive operation. They locked onto military targets, but intentionally released munitions in open areas nearby, signaling both capability and restraint. This balance is what made the strike so effective. It neutralized the narrative that Pakistan lacked the will or means to respond while avoiding a provocation that would leave the adversary with no choice but to escalate further. Western defense analysts noted that such restraint in the face of high public and political pressure was rare, especially in regions with volatile military rivalries. The engagement also highlighted Pakistan's ability to conduct coordinated multi-platform operations under real-time combat conditions. The PAF's strike package was supported by airborne early warning aircraft, ground-based radar, and electronic warfare systems that disrupted Indian targeting and tracking efforts. When Indian fighters scrambled to intercept, the encounter quickly evolved into an aerial dogfight in which Pakistan shot down an Indian MiG-21 Bison, capturing its pilot alive. This not only served as a tactical victory but also a psychological one, as it underscored Pakistan's ability to compete in air-to-air combat even against an adversary with numerical superiority. The subsequent handling of the captured pilot, returning him unharmed within days, further reinforced Pakistan's image as a disciplined actor on the world stage. Perhaps the most important lesson from Balakot, and the reason it remains a focus for Western military analysts, is that Pakistan achieved its objectives using a combination of older platforms and newer tactics. The JF-17, for instance, is not considered a fifth-generation fighter, yet it was used effectively in a combat scenario against a better-funded and larger air force. This success was attributed to superior situational awareness, tight coordination, and the exploitation of tactical windows, where the adversary's response was disorganized. The encounter demonstrated that modern air warfare is not solely determined by the generation or price tag of the aircraft, but by how effectively they are employed within an integrated combat network. Balakot proved that with precise planning, real-time intelligence, and the willingness to act decisively, yet proportionally, a smaller air force can achieve strategic victories that reshape the balance of power, leaving even technologically advanced observers in the West reassessing their assumptions about how such engagements unfold. Cost-effectiveness has become one of Pakistan's most powerful strategic weapons in the air domain, allowing it to challenge larger and better-funded militaries without becoming trapped in unsustainable defense spending cycles. While many Western nations pursue high-end fighter jets that can cost upward of $100 million each to acquire and millions more annually to maintain, Pakistan has focused on acquiring and developing platforms that offer an optimal balance between performance, affordability, and adaptability. The JF-17 Thunder is a prime example of this philosophy, a domestically manufactured fighter in collaboration with China that costs a fraction of Western aircraft but is fully capable of executing a wide range of missions. By producing it locally, Pakistan not only reduces costs but also gains the flexibility to upgrade it with both indigenous systems and foreign-sourced weapons, bypassing the dependency traps associated with relying on a single supplier. This approach means that rather than tying up huge portions of its defense budget on a handful of expensive assets, Pakistan can field a larger, more operationally available fleet that can absorb losses and adapt to evolving threats without financial collapse. The emphasis on cost-effectiveness also extends beyond aircraft procurement into operational doctrine. High-value, low-cost strategies, such as integrating drones, mobile radar systems, and precision-guided munitions, have allowed Pakistan to achieve air parity and even localized superiority without mirroring the expenditures of larger militaries. For example, using drones for surveillance and reconnaissance drastically cuts down on the hours that manned aircraft need to fly, reducing wear and maintenance costs while freeing up fighter jets for only the most critical missions. The ability to operate effectively on a smaller budget also means that Pakistan can sustain longer operational tempos in times of crisis, whereas adversaries relying on ultra-expensive platforms may be forced to scale back missions to preserve asset readiness. In training and maintenance, Pakistan's cost-conscious approach has also shown advantages. The PAF invests in pilot training programs that maximize flight simulator use, reducing operational flight hours on costly aircraft while still ensuring high proficiency levels. Maintenance protocols are tailored to extend the lifespan of existing platforms rather than replacing them prematurely. This not only saves resources but also allows the PAF to channel funds into capability enhancements such as new avionics, radar systems, and weapons integration, all of which can be done at a fraction of the cost of buying next-generation fighters outright. The cost-effectiveness model has a psychological and strategic dimension as well. By demonstrating the ability to neutralize or challenge more expensive enemy assets with cheaper alternatives, Pakistan undermines the perception that bigger defense budgets automatically translate to battlefield dominance. This was evident during the Balakot aftermath, where Pakistan effectively employed relatively inexpensive platforms and tactics to achieve a political and military win. Such outcomes force adversaries and observers alike to rethink the value equation in modern air warfare. Western defense planners find this particularly alarming because it threatens the traditional defense industry model that thrives on the assumption that more advanced and therefore more expensive technology is the only path to superiority. Pakistan's success shows that agility, smart integration, and efficient use of resources can produce results equal to or better than those achieved through lavish spending. This challenges not only the operational doctrines of wealthier militaries but also their procurement strategies, highlighting the uncomfortable reality that in a prolonged conflict, the ability to sustain operations without economic strain may prove more decisive than technological superiority alone. Pakistan's growing defense partnerships with countries like China, Turkey, and several Middle Eastern nations have become a critical factor in the evolution of its air tactics, creating a constantly adaptive force that resists easy prediction. These alliances go beyond simple arms purchases. They are deep, multi-layered relationships that involve joint production, shared training programs, technology transfer, and collaborative research and development. China remains the cornerstone of this strategic web, having co-developed the JF-17 Thunder fighter with Pakistan and continuing to provide advanced radar, missile, and avionics systems. This relationship allows Pakistan to bypass traditional Western defense supply chains, which are often entangled with political conditions and export restrictions, giving it a freer hand in customizing its equipment for specific operational needs. Turkey has emerged as another vital partner, particularly in the domains of drones, electronic warfare, and precision-guided munitions. The transfer of drone technology, especially combat-proven platforms like the Bayraktar TB2, has allowed Pakistan to rapidly enhance its unmanned aerial capabilities without having to invest decades in independent development. Joint exercises with Turkish forces have also exposed the Pakistan Air Force, PAF, to NATO standard tactics, enabling it to merge Eastern and Western operational philosophies into a unique hybrid doctrine. This blending of strategic influences makes Pakistan's air tactics harder to anticipate because they are not anchored to a single school of military thought. The partnerships with Middle Eastern states, particularly those with advanced defense procurement budgets, bring an additional layer of advantage. These relationships provide Pakistan with access to high-end weapon systems, training opportunities in varied geographic environments, and financial or logistical support for defense projects. For instance, training in desert and maritime conditions with Gulf states expands the PAF's operational flexibility, preparing it for a broader range of combat environments than its immediate geography might suggest. Such exposure also enhances interoperability, ensuring that Pakistan's forces can operate seamlessly alongside allies in joint operations, whether in regional conflicts or coalition missions. An important outcome of these partnerships is the continuous modernization of Pakistan's Air Force at a pace that is difficult for adversaries to track. When upgrades or new systems can come from multiple directions, Chinese avionics, Turkish drones, Middle Eastern funding, it becomes harder for intelligence agencies to predict when and how Pakistan's capabilities will shift. This multi-source procurement model also mitigates the risk of dependency. If one partner faces political pressure or export limitations, Pakistan can turn to another, ensuring continuity in its defense build-up. This adaptability makes it a moving target in strategic planning, forcing rivals to spread their focus across multiple possible threat scenarios. Perhaps most significantly, these alliances foster a constant exchange of operational knowledge and battlefield lessons. Pakistani pilots train alongside their counterparts from different doctrinal backgrounds, absorbing techniques and tactics that would otherwise require years of independent trial and error. Engineers and technicians gain hands-on experience with foreign systems, accelerating the process of domestic replication or modification. Over time, this has created an Air Force culture that is both technically proficient and strategically versatile. For Western defense analysts, this evolution represents a shift away from the predictable, static capabilities of smaller air forces toward a more fluid and resilient model, one that can draw from a global pool of ideas, resources, and technologies to outmaneuver even more advanced but rigid adversaries. Pakistan's evolving air tactics have forced a global rethink of what it truly means to command the skies. By mastering asymmetric strategy, blending indigenous and foreign technologies, leveraging drones and electronic warfare, learning from real combat engagements, maximizing cost-effectiveness, and deepening strategic partnerships, it has built a force that is agile, unpredictable, and resilient. This transformation challenges long-held assumptions in Western defense circles, showing that superiority in modern warfare is no longer defined solely by who spends the most or fields the most advanced jet, but by who can adapt the fastest, think the sharpest, and strike with precision when it matters most.